Here we are with yet another build, and I'm going to just put this out there right now. There are many variations that you can do with the Nezarec, but I am choosing to do what I'm doing in this video. I know there may be better things, but I am doing this for the sole purpose of adding a new aspect within the game to mess around with. With that out of the way, let's carry on with the build. So, for today's build, we are using Void with Nezarec, even though I just went over that. I know, I'm dumb. But first thing I want to go over is what the Nezarec actually does. First and foremost, what it gives us in the plain text: void damage kills increase ability energy recharge rate. And basically what you need to know for this helmet is that it increases cooldowns for your melee and your grenade drastically. It is absurd how much it increases your cooldown. Normally for other builds I'd run something along the lines of Verity's Brow or Eye of Another World, because I love running these two helmets in other builds and just messing around with them on Warlock. But for the sole purpose of Void and this build, I'm going to be using Nezarec because it is absurd. Now with the Nezarec, we are actually going to be using middle tree. Now I've looked through so many videos and I've seen everybody use top tree for Void when using the Nezarec. I wanted to try something a little different, and it honestly baffles me that I haven't really seen too many videos, if any at all, about middle tree Void. And the reason why I'm so surprised about that is because this ability, Dark Matter, Void ability kills grant health and melee, grenade, and class ability energy. It's basically Devour without actually being named Devour, and instead it gives you melee and class ability energy at the same time. So with Dark Matter paired alongside the Nezarec, our ability recharge rate is insane, especially when using some of the other mods that we're using, like Heavy Handed alongside Abyssal Charge. Our melee comes back instantly. We use our melee, throw a grenade, and we have our melee back. And then we use our melee, we have our grenade back, and then we have more than half of our melee back. Like, this is just so much fun to use, and it's perfect for endgame too, because you're able to clear ads and survive at the same time. There isn't really too much to go over within the middle skill tree. I just wanted to go with it because of Dark Matter. Another cool thing is handheld supernova, but honestly, I don't use handheld supernova at all. I think it's kind of worthless within this build in sorts, because using the handheld supernova, for some reason I've noticed that it doesn't give us as much melee energy back, and it doesn't get us as many kills because of how short radius it is. So I prefer using the actual grenade itself, like scatter grenade or vortex grenade. I think it's better for getting more kills. Also, the ad control is absurd because of this ability, Atomic Breach, but that's besides the point. For weapons, moving on, we are using Wellspring for two of our weapons. In my last video, my last Warlock video, the Arc one, I was getting a lot of comments talking about Wellspring and how much better it was than Monte Carlo. I agree 1000%. Wellspring would have been way better to run instead of Monte Carlo, and I apologize for not using it within that video. But for this one, I am using Wellspring, and using this Wellspring isn't necessary whatsoever. So if you don't have Wellspring on your weapons, no biggie, not a big deal at all. You don't need it. But if you do have it, it just contributes to your ability cooldowns that much more. And if you don't know what Wellspring does, basically, quick summary: whenever you get a kill, it gives you ability energy, gives you energy for your grenade, melee, and your class ability, depending on what is fully charged and what isn't fully charged. I believe if some of the other abilities are fully charged, then you get more energy for the one ability that isn't fully charged, but I could be wrong about that. But basically, it's a really good perk, and I'm going to start using it way more because I thought it was trash at first because Demolitionist outshined it in my opinion, but I'm an idiot for that. I'm extremely stupid for thinking that. Try to get Wellspring if you have it. If you don't, not a big deal. Also, for the final weapon, I'm using Xenophage. You can use whatever weapon you want for your heavy as long as it is high DPS, because even though we have absurd ad control and ability cooldown rate, we don't really have any boss DPS. So using the heavy slot for our boss DPS would be highly recommended. Anarchy, Xenophage, Lament, Falling Guillotine, a rocket launcher, any of those weapons would work. Even the new exotic that I don't have, and I'm very sad about, but that doesn't matter. Moving on, going into stats. For stats, I am going with 100 strength because that's what I can run. If you can run 100 discipline, go with that. You don't necessarily need the 100 strength at all. I would probably spec it more into discipline if you can, but I'm going with strength. And in all honesty, it probably doesn't matter which one you spec more into because you're gonna get them back both very consistently at a very rapid pace. You're just gonna be getting your melee back much faster. Moving on to the final part of this build, the mods. First thing that I'm gonna go over is the Charge of Light mods, and then I'll go to the other mods that I think are useful but not necessary. First Charge of Light mod, Heavy Handed. Regain half of our melee energy back whenever we use a charged melee ability, consuming 1 stack of Charge with Light. Abyssal Charge, this one is extremely important, so I would run it if you can. Become Charge with Light by defeating combatants with void melee abilities. This will make it so that whenever we use our melee ability, we will always get that Charge of Light stack back. So while we're consuming 1 Charge of Light, we'll be getting a Charge of Light stack back. There should be no reason why we shouldn't have Charge of Light when punching enemies and killing them. And the last important major Charge of Light mod that we're using is Blast Radius. You can change this for Sustained Charge, or you can swap this for Swift Charge if you'd like, but I am using Blast Radius. For me, I'm using Blast Radius or Swift Charge just because I'm using an SMG alongside a grenade launcher, but just note that that will not be your main source of getting charged with light. Your main source of getting charged with light will be killing enemies with your void melee ability. Blast radius, whenever you get rapid kills with a grenade launcher or rocket, you will become charged with light. And with swift charge, whenever you kill an enemy with a submachine gun, sidearm, or pulse rifle, you will become charged with light. And yeah, the other charge of light mod that I'm using, it isn't important, you can run it if you want, is radiant light. It just gets us 20 extra strength whenever we're using another arc mod within the same armor piece, or another arc charge of light mod within a different piece of armor. And yeah, that's it for charge of light mods. The other mod that I'm using is outreach, which just gets us some melee energy whenever we use our rift, but this isn't really used whatsoever. It's there for precaution, but I don't think I used it once. And yeah, that's gonna be the video. This is honestly by far one of my favorite warlock builds I've made, just because, you know, Nezarec's in OP, but because of this new charge of light mod, abyssal charge, it just makes using the build so much more fun, because I'm always getting half of my melee back while getting charge of light. It's a constant cycle, and I love it. All right, I'll stop rambling. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it helpful, and if it wasn't, sorry for wasting your time, but I will gladly take that time. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.